Hello everyone, welcome yet again to another video lecture. My name is Ashwin Joglekar and I am from Resonance PCCP division. Today we are here with the chapter What is Democracy and Why Democracy. This is part of your class 9 syllabus of democratic politics. Now let us quickly begin the chapter. First of all, what is democracy and why democracy? That is the name of the or title of the chapter. Introduction. Now this word democracy has been derived from a Greek word that is demokratia. In here, demos means people and kratia means rule. So that means rule of the people. So democracy is the rule by the people. The traditional definition of democracy has many glitches because many authors have tried to define democracy in their own way, which if not removed, probably may distort the real form of democracy. Moving on, that is what is democracy now, the first part of our topic. Now here we will be looking at some of the common features between democratic governments and non-democratic governments. The first one is democratic government, what are the common features, and what are some of the common features in a non-democratic setup or government. First, democratic government, that is government formed by people's representatives, that is whoever is being elected by the people is the representative and the government is formed by them. Second point, representatives elected in a free and fair election. Now the elections, the complete process which happens is again in a free manner, that is everyone is able to participate in it, and also in a fair manner, that is there is no cheating or rigging during elections. Different decisions of the government are taken in open manner, debate in media, invitation to expert opinion, representations by the common man form a part of decision making process. Next point, citizens also have a right to oppose the decisions and criticize any government action and policy. Fifth point, citizens have a right to protest again, and as long as the mode of protest is within the boundaries of law, that is it is not turning violent in nature. These were some of the features, common features of democratic form of government. Now let us look at some of the features of non-democratic government, that is rule by force. First of all, by a person or a group of persons. No opposition is permitted. There is no kind of opposition here which is allowed to function, because if there is opposition, probably opposition will criticize the government which they won't like. Again, that brings us to the third point, that is no criticism of government views or of rulers is tolerated. Decisions are taken in an arbitrary manner without reference to any rules or laws. Citizens, again, they have no rights. Citizens cannot resort to any kind of protest. Now, this brings us to the next topic, that is what are some of the features of democracy. Now, here we will be looking at some of the features of democracy and we will try to define democracy by taking examples of certain countries. Now, first one here is the first point, that is major decisions by elected leaders. Again, you can see here, we will just go through that what is being written here. Apart from that, in a democracy, the final decision making power must rest with those elected by the people. So this is the main idea behind the first point, and here we have taken the example of Pakistan. Okay, so let us start. That is, a democratic government is one in which people's representatives participate in decision making process. That is, whoever is being elected by the people or whoever is the representative of the people there are taking the decisions. Whatever the decisions are being taken during the running of the government are taken by them. Now, what happened or what was happening in Pakistan, that is a democratically elected government was overthrown and there was a military rule being established under General Pervez Musharraf, because of which most of the decisions now were not being taken by the elected representatives, whereas by the military rulers. So that is the point which they have mentioned here. That is, they own a collective responsibility for all decisions taken by the government. There are examples where representatives of the people are chosen, but they are not allowed to participate in the decision making process. This happens in many dictatorships and monarchies. Currently, in Pakistan under General Pervez Musharraf, that is in Pakistan, led a military coup in October 1999 and declared himself the chief executive of the country. Later he became president and in 2002 held a referendum in the country that granted him an extension of 5 years. Pakistani media and human rights organizations have again stated and that the referendum was done including malpractices, was based on malpractices and fraud. In August 2002, he issued a legal framework order that amended the constitution of Pakistan and increased his powers. According to this order, the president can dismiss the national and provincial assemblies. Notwithstanding the existence of elected national and provincial assemblies, such countries cannot be classified as democratic countries. This gives us the first feature of democracy, that is, in a democracy, the final decision-making power must be with them, rest with those elected by the people. Now, this brings us to the second point, that is, in a democracy, it should be based on free and fair election. Now, here we will be using the examples of China as well as Mexico. First of all, with China, that is, in China, elections are regularly held after 5 years for electing the country's parliament, but still it cannot be called as a democracy. Now, why? Or called a democratic country? In China, elections are regularly held after 5 years for electing the country's parliament, that is the National People's Congress there. The National People Congress has the power to appoint the president of the country. Nearly 3,000 members are there from all over China, and some members are elected by the army also. Before contesting elections, a candidate need the approval of the Chinese Communist Party, or that is the only party which is allowed to run in election or run in elections there, and all other parties are either affiliated to it. That is why we call China as a single party state or one party state. Only those who are members of the Chinese Communist Party or 8 smaller parties allied to it were allowed to contest elections held in 2002 and 3. The government is always formed by the Communist Party. If China had multi-party elections, an opposition party and independent press, then so many people would not have died during the famine which happened in 1958-1961. Now, the second example about the fair elections to be conducted in a fair manner is related to Mexico, wherein since its independence in 1930, it has been ruled by PRI, that is Institutional Revolutionary Party. Mexico holds election after every 6 years to elect its president. The country has never been under a military or a dictator's rule, but still cannot be called a democratic country. Why so? Because free and fair election is the basic feature of democracy, but in Mexico, this is not so. Until 2000, every election was won by a party called PRI, that is Institutional Revolutionary Party. Again, either opposition parties did contest elections, but they were not allowed to win elections, because PRI was known to use many of the dirty tricks during elections, but never managed to win here. That is the opposition parties. The PRI was known to use many dirty tricks to win elections. All those who were employed in government offices had to attend its party meetings. Teachers were asked of government schools were asked that they should tell the parents to vote for the PRI. Used to force parents to vote for the PRI. Media largely ignored the activities of other parties and only focused on the activities of PRI, except to criticize them. That is, sometimes the polling booths were also shifted from one place to another within a span of time, or in the last minute, so that people were not able to vote, which made it difficult for people to cast their votes. The PRI also spent a huge or large sum of money in campaign for its candidates. So therefore, now we have the second feature of democracy. Holding elections is not should be a priority, but then how you are holding those elections is also should be considered. That is, holding elections of any kind is not sufficient. The elections must offer a real choice between political alternatives, and it should be possible for people to use this choice to remove the existing rulers, and that is, new people should be able to take over power. So, a democracy must be based on a free and fair election, where those currently in power also have a fair chance of losing. Now, this brings us to the third feature, that is one person, one vote and one value. Now, a true democracy grants its citizens what is called universal adult franchise, that is right to vote. It means all adults have a right to vote without any discrimination based on sex, color, race, caste or class. Each person can cast one vote, and that one vote has one value. All votes are counted. The person who gets the maximum number of votes gets elected. In many of the countries, this is not how the system works. There are many instances of denial of equal vote, right to vote. Like in Saudi Arabia, up till 2015, women did not have the right to vote, but now they have. Estonia also had made it citizenship rules in such a way that people belonging to the Russian minority find it difficult to get the right to vote. In Fiji, the electoral system is such that the vote of an indigenous Fijian is more than in value than of an Indian Fijian. So this will bring us to the third feature of democracy, that is, in a democracy, each adult citizen must have one vote, and each vote should have or must have one value. Now, moving on to the fourth feature of democracy here, that is rule of law and respect for rights. And here we have taken the example of Zimbabwe. Now, Zimbabwe, again, elections are held regularly but are won by only one party, that is ZANU-PF, Zimbabwean African National Union Patriotic Front. The party uses practices in elections which are against the principles of democracy. Over the years, President Mugabe has changed the constitution several times to increase his own power and make him less accountable. In a democracy, people in opposition can criticize the government, but this is not allowed in Zimbabwe. So this again is not a feature of a democratic government, where people are not able to criticize the government. Opposition party workers were harassed and their meetings are many of the times disrupted. Public protest and demonstration against the government is also not allowed, were declared illegal. Television, radio and press are controlled by the government, while those who went against them were harassed terribly. Later on, Mugabe was forced out of office in 2017, and the example of Zimbabwe shows that popular approval of rulers is necessary in a democracy, but they should not rise above the constitution or the rules and regulations. But it is again not sufficient. Popular governments can become undemocratic. Popular leaders can be autocratic. In a democracy, the state should respect the basic rights of citizens. They should be free to think, to have opinions, to express these in public, to form associations, to protest and take other political actions. Everyone should be equal in the eyes of law. These rights must be protected by the independent judiciary, whose orders are obeyed by everyone. So therefore, a democratic government cannot do whatever it likes simply because it has won an election. It has to respect certain basic rules. In particular, it has to respect some guarantees to the minorities, and every major decision here has to go through a series of steps and consultations. The fourth and final feature of democracy, that is here, a democratic government rules within the limits which are set by the constitution, law and citizens' rights. Now, this brings us to the summary definition of democracy. Again, democracy is a form of government in which, first point, that is rulers elected by people take all the major decisions, and the example which we saw was of Pakistan here. Rulers offer a choice and fair opportunity to people to change the current rulers. Examples here were China and Mexico. Then this choice and opportunity is available to all the people on an equal basis. Example could be used about Estonia. And fourth one, the exercise of this choice leads to a government limited by basic rules of the constitution and citizens' rights. That is, the example used here was of Zimbabwe. Okay. So today we'll be doing till here, and see you in next lecture. Thank you so much.